as they needed to survive. He was a riverman, and so that reputation is continued through the family. I want you to meet our captain upstairs, who is a cousin by marriage to the Bankleys, Captain Ken Persinger on the job. Captain Ken, you're looking very well now over here on the right. And thank Lance and wish him well, both of them, and of course our young people, again, first rate. And we couldn't do it without them. Lance, thank you, sir, for your good example. Now, Charlie Binkley had a son, Jim, who worked the Yukon River for 55 years, supplying the villages. And Jim Binkley was quite a guy. He went to the world's largest garage sale one Saturday in 1979 and bought 1,200 feet of pipeline pipe they hadn't used in the line and built that dry dock out of it that you just walked across. That gray pipe in the dry dock is pipeline pipe. And it floats that dry dock. We only have to sink it once every 5 years because the Coast Guard shows up with that $6 million government flashlight they bought with your tax dollars, and they say, raise the boat, we want to look underneath, and so we use the dry dock to get it out of the water. And every 5 years we get our ticket signed, and we're good for another 5. And the little vessel tied to the end is a recycled freighter. Now, Captain Jim and his partner George Black ran a freighting business out of Fairbanks for many years. But when that got moved, he decided to turn that into a passenger vessel. Discovery 2 is a dandy little boat, and that bright orange paddle wheel in the back now is just like the one that we have. And I want to reassure you that this is a true stern wheeler. That means the power comes from the wheel. We do not have propellers under here anywhere. The growling you hear are some hydraulic thrusters, which before you got on here, this boat weighed 280 tons, and we only sink down in this shallow river 39 inches. I hope you find that reassuring, because I sure do looking at you.
Well, hopefully it's still there.
Because if we come to a sudden stop anywhere in the shallow water, everybody over 39 inches tall has to get out and push. You realize that. We'll see if we can keep it floating for you. It is an amazing way to travel. And so these pilots are critical. Now, one of our neighbors is going to fly for you. This is the surprise I mentioned. He's downriver in a 1951 Piper Super Cub, and you're going to get a chance to meet him. But before Steve Knatzer takes off the river, you'll notice this real estate on the left. It looks like somebody's backyard and driveway. But it is a fully functional 900-foot airport. That's the kind of little bush airstrip you'd find out in rural Alaska. Now, they park their planes across the road now, but let's go back in time via the video screen. Look what was out here 5 years ago. Looked like a parking garage at rush hour. And this fellow on the video is going to take off on the gravel with those big soft tires that you see a lot of the aircraft have. We call them Tundra tires because they squash down when he lands and help slow him down. That's Bill Johnson. It took 156 feet for him to get out of Dodge. And when he comes home at night, you can understand how they hone their skills. He's got to miss the septic tank pipes and the airplane and the canoe and the trucks and the burn barrel and a few other things. So Steve Knatzer, this time of year, he likes to land and take off on the water. And so he's going to run by us here on the left. The wind just changed, so he's going to do a downriver takeoff for you in a second. But this is an absolutely immaculately restored 1951 Super Cub, very popular model. And with apologies to our new friends from Minnesota, you see, we have 3 million lakes in Alaska. We love your license plate, though. And so he's got a lot of water he can land on until it freezes up around Halloween. But Steve enjoys the float flying, and so he's going to spin around here in a second. And you'll be able to see this on the video if you don't want to twist your neck. But he's going to come up from our 7 o'clock position. Let's pretend the nose of the boat is 12 noon. The stern is 6 o'clock, so he'll be coming from the left side slightly here and come right by us and lift off right in front of the bow. And this is one of the best bush pilots around, no question about it. He also fixes other people's airplanes, and he's very busy right now because moose season starts Labor Day. And so he's fixing a lot of airplanes for the guys going out to hunting camp. So here we go. 150 horsepower light Coleman engine. We're going to get out of the river. Now we're going to keep him on the video here on the way back to the hospital. Now, again, we'll pick him up on the video. Ray's going to find him. He's coming in behind us. And what he'll do is slip the airplane, he tilts it over, sometimes close to 90 degrees, and just falls out of the sky sideways. And then he will adjust if necessary, and do a nice soft touchdown. Many people who are pilots themselves, when they see this, they say he's not flying that thing, he's wearing it like a good pair of jeans. So here comes Steve in on a nice approach. Now watch the hang time. He just absolutely sets this down as gently as you can. Like an Olympic diver, the trick is the smaller the splash, the better the landing. There's one. And 2 floats, and he's home, safe and sound. Steve can answer. Now, Brian's going to, or Vicky rather, is going to bring me the radio, and we're going to have a chat, and please join us and listen in here. Alpha Discovery 3, Steve, how you doing?
Afternoon, doing great.
Now, any tricky wind up high there with the clouds moving in and out?
Oh, there's a little breeze out of the south. It looks kind of flat here on the water, but it's a pretty nice afternoon.
Now, can you tell these nice folks how you got started doing this for me, please?
Sure, I was raised out in western Alaska along the Yukon River. I've been piloting these aircraft since I was a teenager. My dad was a pilot and instructor. Also, I had sled dogs down on the Yukon for transportation and tried my hand at the Iditarod race in 1980. Then in 91, I moved to Fairbanks here, became an aircraft mechanic. So now I work on these aircraft full time when I'm not flying them.
Now that explains why this one looks so good, and it wasn't always this way, was it? How did you come by 2-4 Alpha?
I acquired this aircraft well over 20 years ago. It had brush and weeds growing up around it. Took it all apart, totally restored it, put it back in the air, and have accumulated well over 2,000 hours in it. So it's taken me quite a few places around the state.
Well, now, we see an awful lot of these still in use. I think this is one of the most popular small planes we have. What's the appeal of this old time?
Well, the Hyper Supercut design is very utility technology. It's very lightweight aircraft. So you can never get in and out of remote areas like the rivers when you see it put on floats. But also on the summer, we'll put wheels where we'll operate on sandbars and ridge tops. In the winter months, we go to ski side on snow. So just a very versatile aircraft for year-round operation up here in supplying the remote areas where there's no runways.
Did you copy that? Should we handcuff here while you take off again?
I got you there. I don't know what happened. Yeah, I'll be departing back downriver and heading back to base, and you people enjoy the afternoon boat ride. 2-4 Alpha.
All right, we're clear on Discovery 3, and Steve, happy landing. Thank you, sir. He was the youngest person ever allowed to start, 18 years old, and he gave a good time himself. Here he comes now, on the left-hand side, next to him. And it's hard to believe that by Halloween night, he'll be on skis. Yeah, we'll have 3 feet ice on this river by trick-or-treat night. When you go back and see Molly back there, she'll tell you what trick-or-treating with our 3 boys. It's not an outing, it's an expedition. And one of them called me a week ago and said, Dad, we were talking at the office. Power steering on your car. So when it was on that steamer Yukon, it had a really large drum in front of it with lots of cables that went back to the rudder. And I wouldn't be sitting down steering that one for sure. Well, particularly when they were in tough water like the Yukon and Panama rivers with an 8-mile-an-hour current, it sometimes took 2 guys, didn't it? That's right. Well, now, we're going to get out a little bit into the Canada this afternoon. Can we come up and get your take on the changes? Because there's a lot of interesting hydrology going on out there. All right, Captain Prisoner, thank you, sir. And great decisions up there. Thank you. They are energized, and now, Mandy, what do we have? Rock Walking 101 today, or what's on the plan?
Yeah, these guys think they're just funny. Every time I work with them, it's play to them, but it's actual learning for them. What they're doing right now is they're following her on a puppy walk. And what we do is we actually started working with them before their eyes were even open. So that when they get open their started putting little challenges in front of them. Little challenges such as getting logs here. But it didn't take them long to figure out how to get over the logs. And when they tried to get over and they struggled, we helped them. And they learned that we weren't going to put anything too tough in front of them, so they should always try to accomplish what we're trying to get them to do. And once they got through these logs, then we started taking them down at those docks area. Last week the river was higher, so those docks were on water. So they were unstable. They were it was kind of scary for them at first. But we got them to work on the docks, and they learned that it wasn't anything too tough for them, that we were never ever going to put something too tough for them.
Well, even when the back end doesn't do what the front end's doing, they are persistent and they figure out how to get it done and of course get a reward, and the human eternity should be this good with the encouragement that they get. Now, these guys are how old and about what age will they actually go in harness, and what happens in between?
These guys are about 12 months old right now, and they'll go in harness when they're about 5 or 6 months old. And what happens from here is, once they outgrow these docks and these docks are no longer any kind of a challenge, they start putting out puppy walks. They've been going on puppy walks for several weeks now. And what we do is we just go for a walk with older dogs, such as Kitty there. And what Kitty and the other dogs will do is they'll go bounding through the woods. They'll go for walks. They'll run for weeks. And this curious puzzle will really get them through these little challenges.
Well, this is an amazing system that the dogs teach just like you guys do. So, as they've been working together, is it a big deal when you put a harness on them for the first time?
Yeah, it is a big deal. Even though they've been working with us, the harness is a brand new thing, just like any little challenge. And so we put a harness on them, and we start small, and we put a real gang like with older dogs that at first they just jump over, they jump to the buddy next to them, and they slowly learn that when we put them in harness to lean into that harness, and we go at very slow rates. And so they learn to lean into that harness, slowly increase the distance and the speed that they're going, until they're able to run swing dogs like those guys.
Now, did we time this right? Were you guys ready to take a group out for a little pre-winter video? Because Ray's got a camera up on the smokestack, and you'll be able to see most of this run either out the window or on the video system. And again, probably between 15 and 20 miles an hour, something like that, would be the pace for a short run like this. On the Iditarod, maybe 10 miles an hour, you're going about 100 miles a day. There they are.
There they come. Look.
Yeah, way over there.
Oh, girl, I was looking at them. Oh, right over there on the other side.
Her voice and the lead dog's response, and it was kind of playing crack the whip going around that narrow corner. And here they come back again. Didn't miss a beat. So they're on their way home. And
They're coming back around that
it's really what she's doing, as she said, is watching which dogs run well and which don't. There's an old saying, you win races with the dogs you're leaving home. You don't want any that slack off, that's for sure.
Alright, here we are headed back. What I'm doing now is I can really see how my training is going. The goal in training is for them to finish a run just as excited as they were to start it. And so I want them to have a lot of energy saved up for that final push on a race. During training, I want to make sure that every training run ends strong, so that when I do get out onto the race,
village to their family's respective fish camp. For example, my grandfather's fish camp is located about 26 miles up the Yukon River from Tanana. The main focus of any fish camp along the Tanana and the Yukon rivers is the fish fill down here in the water. That's what we find the most effective way to catch any of the salmon. On a good day, that fish fill can catch anywhere between 20 to 150 salmon in one day if we're lucky. Smokehouse. That's what we use to dehydrate our salmon. We find it the most effective way.
A summer job, and they were family, and so they'd eat the softer parts of the salmon that again wouldn't be thrown away. Now, this is kind of a little guy. You got a head start. How does the process work?
So down here on the table is what we call a river run silver salmon. It's very similar to the chum salmon. They're very low quality salmon, and they have very mushy meat, so they're very soft. So it's really hard to cut a little guy like this up. But what we like to do with them is we dehead it and gut the salmon. You create 2 salmon fillets that you leave attached at the tail, and you cut along the backbone to create the salmon fillets. Now, I like to cut off the backbone because it has a lot of meat left onto it, And then I like to throw that into the dog pot normally.
And it's split like a cow's hoof. They can spread their foot out and walk on the snow just like we would strap snowshoes on, so they don't punch down and hurt their legs. And of course that big foot is an excellent paddle. Now these guys, they can't migrate very far in the wild without running into one of those or 6 of those or 10 of those 3 million lakes I told you about. You can't sink a 600-pound bull caribou in your snowmobile, and you can cross-country ski and snowshoe, and we don't hibernate. We don't hibernate. A lot of you guys have a tougher winter than we do, particularly in Chicago and the Twin Cities and upstate New York and